I got to say is I have no remorse for shooting that police officer. He got what he deserved. If I had the opportunity to kill him, I'd kill him.
Your Honor, just execute me there because I can't get any kind of justice. I'm tired. I'm about to end up my rope.
I will break out soon and I will kill more.
Every day I face the facts of what I did and what happened.
First, there was a gasp.
They dared to take the lives of those who swore to protect and serve, but when the judge delivers their life sentences, their shocking reactions will leave you speechless. Number 10. Luis Bracamontes.
Be silent. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, please step out of the hallway.
They're fucking dead. I don't fucking regret that shit. The only thing I fucking regret is if I can kill too. I wish I can kill more of those motherfuckers.
He turned an October morning in 2014 inches Sacramento into a war zone. What began as a car theft ended in the cold-blooded murders of 2 police officers, an event so violent that the city would never forget the name Luis Bracamontes.
2 deputies walked up on the parked red Ford. As they approached from behind, the suspect shot both of them.
On the 24th of October 2014, Bracamontes, a 4-year-old undocumented immigrant, began a rampage that stretched from Sacramento to Auburn, California. He stole vehicles, fired at civilians, and fatally shot Sacramento County Sheriff's Deputy Danny Oliver during a traffic stop. Hours later, he ambushed Placer County Detective Mikel Davis Jr., killing him instantly.
In Auburn, authorities say Bracamontes began firing on deputies and at one point took off in a running patrol car.
Armed with a rifle and an unshakable intent to destroy, Bracamontes left behind a trail of chaos that sent officers, helicopters, and tactical teams into a frantic manhunt. He was captured by the end of the day, alive, unrepentant, and disturbingly calm.
Mr. Bracamontes is responsible for the deaths of both Deputy Danny Oliver and Detective Mike Davis.
Bracamontes was no stranger to law enforcement. His criminal record stretched back years, with drug-related arrests and multiple deportations from the United States between the late 1992s and early 2000s. Each time, he slipped back into the country using false names and new stories, evading the system that once caught him.
Formal confirmation of his fingerprints and actual identity. We have reason to believe that he's used many different identities.
The history that had long been overlooked suddenly became the centerpiece of one of California's most horrifying police killings. As investigators pieced together the timeline, witnesses recalled the terror. One woman described hiding behind her car as bullets ripped through the air. Patrol radios captured the panic as officers called out "shots fired," and surveillance footage later confirmed what many feared: Bracamontes was hunting police. When the trial began, the courtroom became an arena of shock and disbelief. Bracamontes smiled as prosecutors recounted the murders and even shouted, "I'm going to kill more cops soon," before being escorted out by deputies. His lack of remorse was chilling and his confidence truly strange. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances, multiple counts of attempted murder, carjacking, and weapons violations.
In the hearing, we noticed Bracamontes was snickering and smiling when the homicide investigator was talking about the shootout between Bracamontes.
Bail was denied, and the state pursued the death penalty. When the jury returned its verdict in 2018, every count read guilty. As the judge pronounced the death sentence, Bracamontes flashed a smug grin until one of the victim's mothers met his gaze and said quietly, "Smile, sucker."
I will break out soon and I will kill more.
Justice had been served. For the families of Deputy Oliver and Detective Davis, the verdict brought a painful but necessary end. The man who once vowed to kill more would now spend the rest of his life awaiting the punishment he so casually invited, a grim but rightful reminder that even the most heartless killers cannot outrun justice forever. Number 9. Esteban Carpio.
First, there was a gasp.
Oh my God!
Ask him what I did and what happened.
It began as a routine interrogation on a spring morning in 2005. Detective James Allen, a 50-year-old veteran of the force, walked into an interview room with a suspect. By the time the door opened again, the officer lay dying, and his killer had thrown himself through a third-floor window in a desperate attempt to flee. Esteban Carpio, who was just 26 at the time, had been detained for questioning in the stabbing death of an 84-year-old woman. He appeared calm, compliant, until one detective stepped out to get him a glass of water, locking the door behind him. In that brief isolation, Carpio lunged. He overpowered Detective Allen, seized his service weapon, and fired 2 rounds into the officer's chest. Moments later, officers outside heard the chilling cry through the radio, "He's got my gun. He's going to kill me." When they broke the door open, Allen was barely alive, and Carpio had vanished through shattered glass into the street below. Carpio wasn't an unknown name in Providence's troubled corners. Arrested twice in 2003 for assault and disorderly conduct, he had a history of violent instability and untreated mental illness. His mother had pleaded for help for years, but in April 2005, his descent ended in blood and chaos.
The police chief himself, Esserman, came down, was seen as they loaded Detective Allen's body into the van.
The city immediately went into a manhunt. Patrol cars swept the streets, helicopters scoured rooftops. Within hours, Carpio was found hiding in a nearby building, battered from the fall, and was subsequently subdued after a violent struggle.
And a massive manhunt is underway. At police headquarters, the mood is somber.
When he appeared in court the next morning, his face was swollen, restrained by a white mesh mask. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. His family screamed accusations of police brutality and made the court rowdy with their protests.
Police brutality! He was mentally ill, and he needed help, and we couldn't get it. We tried and tried.
But forensic reports and witness testimony confirmed the truth.
The widow of Hamilton County Sheriff's Deputy Larry Henderson has now filed a civil lawsuit to try and stop the online petition raising money for the man accused of murdering him.
That's right. Lorena Henderson cites Ohio's Wrongful Death Act, saying Rodney Hinton Jr. should not be able to profit from his actions, which she says caused Deputy Henderson's death. The suit also claims those responsible for the online petitions acted on a malicious civil conspiracy to profit off of Henderson's death. This lawsuit adding that the money raised from crowdsourcing for Hinton violates Ohio's public policy. Henderson is suing for damages of more than $25,000.
Number 8. Rodney Hinton Jr. This is a case that just kept getting worse as it progressed. It all happened in the heart of Cincinnati, Ohio, when a father's grief took a deadly turn that stunned the entire community. On May 1st, 2025, 8-year-old Ryan Hinton was fatally shot by police during a car theft confrontation near Martin Luther King Drive. According to officers, Ryan fled with a loaded firearm, allegedly pointing it toward them before being shot.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! On your right! On your right! He's got a gun!
The body cam footage that circulated online showed the chilling moment of the gunfire and the fall of the young man who lived as if he was invincible and ended in an instant. That same footage was what made his father, Rodney Hinton, think he needed to avenge his son. Friends said Rodney stopped sleeping and spoke often about making them feel what he felt. Police later revealed that Rodney had a prior disorderly conduct warning from February 2025, just months before the tragedy, which was an early sign of growing instability. Then came May 12, 2025, a day that would seal his fate. Around 1 p.m., as Deputy Larry Henderson directed traffic for a university graduation, Rodney drove at high speed toward the intersection. Witnesses say his vehicle, a dark sedan, accelerated instead of slowing down, showing that he had the intention of hitting the officer. The impact threw Deputy Henderson several feet, killing him instantly. Shocked onlookers captured the aftermath on their phones. It was a mix of chaos, sirens, and disbelief.
For a mental health issue that needs immediate attention. Is that a yes or a no?
Police arrived within minutes. Rodney was pulled from the wreckage and immediately taken into custody. He was charged with aggravated murder, vehicular homicide, and felony assault on a peace officer, 3 counts that carried the weight of a life sentence.
So this is just outside, kind of giving you a perspective here. This is just outside of Room A. So this is down in the Hamilton County Courthouse there. You can see obviously.
The bond hearing drew a tense crowd, many wearing shirts with Ryan's face as the case was turned to a platform for Black Lives activism. Inside the courtroom, emotions boiled over. Ryan's brother, who was getting too excited, had been asked to leave the premises. Now he was protesting outside the courtroom, claiming he just wants his brother to see him, but deputies escorted him out. While all these happened, Rodney sat silent, but occasionally lifted his head to nod at his supporters and to mock the police officers. Prosecutors described the act as pure revenge, while his defense attorney argued mental breakdown. He claimed, "This is not malice, but grief out of control."
Say he's fully competent, but as the days go on, I think he gets more competent every day.
When a hearing is held, Mr. Bennett may have some information, including some mental health history.
But the actions of Rodney showed he had no remorse. He continually snarled at the officers that lined the exit of the court. Judge Miller denied bond, citing risk to public safety. In the final hearing, Rodney Hinton Jr. is likely to receive a life sentence when the case is eventually concluded. This was a case of a son who lived on the edge and underestimated the consequences of his actions, and of a father that chose to act senselessly. Number 7. Markeith Loyd.
You know, it broke my jaw. They did all this shit till I resisted, but I crawled out to the motherfucking road. So how did I resist? I ain't resist shit. They just did that shit. They tried to hide it from the news.
2, killing an unborn child by injury to a mother. Count 3, attempted first-degree murder with a firearm. Count 4, aggravated assault with a firearm. And finally, count 5.
It began with a man on the run and ended with a man begging the court to listen. On the 13th of December 2016, in Orlando, Florida, 1-year-old Markeith Loyd shot and killed his pregnant girlfriend, Sade Dixon, during a violent domestic confrontation. He fled the scene armed with a handgun and a trail of fury.
Behind bars.
Weeks later, while still a fugitive, Loyd encountered Lieutenant Deborah Clayton, a respected police officer, outside a Walmart on the 9th of January 2017. She recognized him from a wanted poster. Within seconds, the parking lot turned into a battleground, and the officer never made it home.
To the Walmart at 7 a.m. on the dot. She heads to the produce aisle first, is there for a few minutes, while Markeith Loyd is seen coming out of the bathroom at 7.
Before the bloodshed, Loyd wasn't a stranger to crime. In 1994, he was convicted of armed robbery and served 10 years. By 2014, he tried to reinvent himself as a self-styled, motivational figure, often posting about positivity and truth on social media, which is a chilling irony considering the darkness ahead. The events unfolded in a terrifying sequence. After the murder of his girlfriend, police launched a citywide manhunt.
This has now become one of our highest priority cases. We have to give every asset we have to help and take Markeith Loyd off the street. So we are going to elevate him to the board.
Witnesses reported seeing Loyd at the Walmart, casually shopping. When Officer Clayton confronted him, he drew his weapon and fired multiple rounds.
Walks right past Loyd, checking out. Having no idea, less than 3 minutes later, she would be dead. The call coming in over the radio at 7:18, an officer was down.
Bystanders heard her final cries over the chaos, a scene captured partly by security cameras and shared nationwide. Loyd fled, later wounding another officer during the escape. The Orlando Police Department and SWAT cornered him 9 days later in an abandoned house. The arrest was caught on body cam footage, showing officers kicking Loyd after he surrendered. He claimed police brutality, but investigators ruled the force justified given his violent resistance. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, and aggravated assault.
They beat me up. They beat me up.
Those claims launching an investigation into the arrest captured on police helicopter video. It shows Loyd crawling on his stomach, then being kicked in the head by at least 2 officers before the camera pans away.
The courtroom scenes that followed when the proceedings started were explosive. Loyd interrupted proceedings, shouted at judges, and complained about his injuries. "Y'all making it look like I just went and shot this girl," he ranted, refusing to take responsibility. Yet, in a haunting twist, he broke down in tears when a witness recalled Officer Clayton's final moments.
The tears continued for more than 2 minutes. You can see the dark, wet spots from Loyd's tears on his burgundy-colored shirt.
In 2022, the jury found him guilty beyond doubt. For killing Sade Dixon, he received life imprisonment. For murdering Lieutenant Clayton, the court sentenced him to death. The gavel fell, and justice finally silenced the man who thought he could outrun it. Number 6. Gregory Wright.
All I got to say is I have no remorse for shooting that police officer. He got what he deserved. If I had the opportunity to kill him, I'd kill him.
In 1994, Gregory Wright turned a Detroit street into a war zone, leaving behind a trail of bullets, sirens, and 1 wounded officer. What began as an escape soon became a courtroom spectacle.
Fired shots while being chased, hitting an officer in the arm before he was...
On a cold Detroit night in 1994, Gregory Wright, then in his late 20s, rammed his car into a police cruiser while attempting to flee from an armed robbery scene. As the vehicle spun to a stop, Wright fired multiple rounds backward through the shattered rear window. 1 bullet struck an officer in the arm, but by sheer luck and body armor, no life was lost. Officers subdued Wright after a brief chase, recovering a concealed 9mm handgun and stolen cash from the scene.
Wright was defiant and made a chilling statement to reporters.
All I got to say is I have no remorse for shooting that police officer. He got what he deserved. If I had the opportunity to kill him, I'd kill him.
Wright was no stranger to the law. He had been arrested twice before, once in 1991 for illegal possession of a firearm, and again in 1993 for burglary. He was known around Detroit's East Side for his reckless confidence and his loud declarations that the system couldn't hold him. Those words would soon test fate inside a courtroom that refused to be intimidated. Witnesses that night described the chaos vividly: the sound of screeching tires, flashes of gunfire, and Wright's voice shouting as he tried to escape. A nearby security camera captured the scene in grainy footage later aired on local television, shocking viewers across Michigan. It wasn't just another arrest. It was a violent standoff between arrogance and authority. Prosecutors charged Wright with armed robbery, aggravated assault on a police officer, and carrying a concealed weapon, 3 felony counts. His bond was set at $50,000, but what followed inside court was something no one expected. During his first hearing, just moments after he was granted bail, he leaped over the courtroom partition.
So, he makes a break for it.
Attempting to flee again, before being wrestled down by 6 officers in a chaotic struggle that proved the danger Wright was to everyone. Even with 6 police officers on trying hard, it was not easy subduing him. The judge swiftly revoked his bond. After a swift trial, Wright was sentenced to 35 years in state prison, his terms to run consecutively for each violent count. Number 5. Kenneth Wayne Dehart.
That door.
It don't justify what they did to me. Black man, you gonna watch them kick and beat on me again? Beat my glasses off of me, so I ain't allowed to have I can't see.
It began as a routine stop on a quiet Tennessee road. Within minutes, it turned into a deadly shootout that would shake the small town of Alcoa and leave 1 deputy dead, another bleeding on the asphalt, and an entire community demanding justice.
He entered with a cut on his eye.
On the 8th of February 2024, 2-year-old Kenneth Wayne Dehart was driving a white SUV along Sevierville Road when deputies Greg McCowan and Shelby Eggers noticed him swerving into the wrong lane. Their dashboard camera captured what first seemed like a harmless traffic stop. "I stopped you not 'cause you were all over the road," Deputy Eggers began calmly. Dehart replied nervously, claiming he had just been putting his hair up, but moments later, the police caught the smell of marijuana in his car, and his jittery behavior turned the situation into a heated confrontation.
You can step out the car. No, sir. You will get out of the car.
Dehart wasn't a stranger to law enforcement. Records showed prior arrests in 2016 for drug possession and a 2019 probation violation after a failed court appearance. Locals described him as quiet but volatile, a man who had clashed with authority before. His criminal past, however, hadn't hinted at what was about to unfold that February night. When deputies asked Dehart to exit the vehicle, he refused. The camera footage captured escalating tension. "If you don't step out of the car, we'll have to drag you out," warned McCowan. Seconds later, tasers flashed and gunfire erupted. Eggers screamed over the radio that he was hit. McCowan lay fatally wounded beside the patrol car, while Eggers, bleeding, called desperately for help.
Eggers returned fire twice before she began to place a tourniquet on her wound. The video ends with two people assisting Eggers with her tourniquet and staying with Deputy McCowan until help arrives.
The chilling 911 audio would later become key evidence, played in court to a silent, tearful jury. A 5-day manhunt followed, spanning rural Blount County. Authorities finally tracked Dehart to a home barely 20 miles away, where he was arrested without incident.
Can't understand how excited I am today to tell you at 3:22 today, we arrested the man that murdered my deputy.
He muttered bitterly during his arrest, accusing officers of racism and brutality, but his claims could not drown out the reality of the body cam footage. Dehart was charged with first-degree murder, attempted murder, and unlawful possession of a firearm, with no bail granted. In court, he appeared defiant, interrupting proceedings to claim, "They beat my glasses off, I couldn't see." The judge ordered him removed after several outbursts.
That door.
If convicted, Dehart faces the death penalty. Number 4. Jesse Michael Gomez.
If I could trade places with Officer Guzman, I would, but I cannot, and I am truly sorry.
It was supposed to be a routine patrol. Instead, it became one of San Diego's darkest nights. The echo of gunfire that tore through the quiet streets left one officer dead and another clinging to life. On the night of the 28th of July, 2016, near South 38th Street and Gamma Street in San Diego, Jesse Michael Gomez, then 55 years old, encountered two uniformed police officers, Jonathan J.D. de Guzman and Wade Irwin, riding in their marked patrol car. As Officer Irwin stepped out to question Gomez and another man walking suspiciously apart, Gomez pulled out a .38 caliber revolver and fired point blank, striking Irwin in the throat. In seconds, Gomez turned his gun toward the patrol car and unleashed 5 more rounds, fatally hitting Officer de Guzman before fleeing into the night.
He was in a slumped position, his chin was down, his eyes were closed, there was blood coming from his mouth, and he appeared to be very pale. I tried calling out to him, but there was no response.
Gomez was no stranger to law enforcement. Known on the streets as Jesse G, he had a record stretching back decades, convicted in 2004 for drug possession and again in 2011 for firearm violations. Despite serving multiple short sentences, he returned to the streets each time, claiming to have turned his life around. But the truth was more sinister. Gomez harbored a deep distrust of the police, feeding his delusion that officers were rival gang members out to kill him.
And he turns his attention to him, and he fires, not once, not twice, 5 times.
That fatal night unfolded like a scene from a grim movie. Nearby residents reported hearing rapid gunfire and seeing flashing blue lights. Officer Irwin's desperate 911 call, gargled, broken, and soaked in pain, was later played in court. "Officer down! I've been shot!" His voice cracked, immortalizing the chaos of that night. Gomez, wounded during his escape, was tracked down within hours after blood trails led investigators to a nearby ravine.
News 8's Shannon Handy was at the courthouse today.
She has more on opening statements and talks about the dramatic body cam video showing fellow officers trying to save de Guzman's life.
Within 48 hours, Gomez was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, and felony possession of a firearm, 3 counts that sealed his fate. Bail was denied due to the capital nature of the offense. During trial in 2022, Gomez appeared solemn but erratic. When Officer Irwin took the stand, his haunting words filled the courtroom. "My last memory of him is watching the defendant walk up to the car and execute my partner." Gomez wept silently, but later interrupted proceedings, insisting he never meant to kill anyone. The judge's gavel fell hard to restore order. When the verdict came, the courtroom froze. Gomez was sentenced to death by lethal injection for the murder of Officer de Guzman, with his remaining sentences to run consecutively. The judge's final words were sharp and deliberate. "You showed no mercy. The law now shows none to you." San Diego breathed a heavy sigh that day. Justice had been served not in vengeance, but in preservation of the peace that brave officers like Jada de Guzman died protecting. Number 3. Mikel Brady.
Hand off on my shirt because I cut my hand when I stabbed Mr. Smith.
That's tragic, but you wiped the hammer off either way.
I'm just trying to get the facts straight.
This is a case that is one of the darkest days in North Carolina's prison history. When the smoke cleared, 4 staff members were dead, and inmate Mikel Brady's desperate gamble had turned into a massacre.
During the attack, prison surveillance video showed inmates stabbing and attacking an employee and then dragging the body out of view.
On the 12th of October 2017, inside Pasquotank Correctional Institution in Elizabeth City, chaos ignited behind the gray walls. Mikel Brady, 28, and 3 fellow inmates launched a violent escape attempt from the prison's sewing plant and warehouse. Armed with hammers, scissors, and makeshift blades, they murdered 4 correctional employees before setting the warehouse ablaze to hide their crime.
Like a wooden 2x4 with some nails, it looked like, in it.
What began as a plan for freedom descended into a cold, calculated slaughter. Brady's name was already branded with violence. In 2014, he had been sentenced to 24 years for shooting at a police officer in Durham. His record carried every warning sign: attempted murder, stolen firearm, and felony assault, a pattern of chaos that only deepened within confinement. By 2017, while working inside the prison's sewing factory, Brady's thoughts hardened into obsession.
Prosecutors allege Brady set a fire in the stockroom as a diversion. Jurors then saw the prisoners making a run for it, with dozens of guards following.
He memorized patrol schedules, smuggled tools, and disguised intent beneath a mask of obedience. To him, the prison wasn't a punishment anymore, it was a puzzle to break. That October morning, his scheme came alive. Brady and his crew lit fires with wood and cardboard, luring officers into the trap. Officer Veronica Darden was cornered behind a stack of boxes, beaten repeatedly with a hammer until she no longer moved. Another officer fell, trying to save her. As smoke filled the air and alarms screamed, blood mixed with rising water on the warehouse floor. Over the radio, one responder's voice cracked, saying it was a bloodbath, and described how bodies littered everywhere.
For lack of better words, plugging holes with wounds and with gauze and wounds and stuff like that.
Today, the prosecution began to lay out its case against Mikel Brady.
Surveillance footage captured inmates sprinting toward the outer fence. None made it beyond the barbed wire. By evening, the prison was silent except for the hum of generators and distant sirens. The attackers were dragged out, faces streaked with soot, wrists bound tight. During interrogation, Brady's voice was steady. He said he wanted freedom or death. Prosecutors charged him with 4 counts of first-degree murder, attempted escape, arson, and assault with a deadly weapon. There was no bail, only the long arms of justice reaching towards him. Inside the courtroom, grief filled every corner. One nurse described finding Officer Darden's body. The words silenced the room. Brady, unflinching, later admitted he stabbed him 4 to 8 times. His confession fell like ice across the gallery. The jury needed only hours. All 4 men received death sentences instantly. Number 2. Ashford Thompson.
Shoot him in the head. And then you bent over and you shot him again and again and again. You put the gun on his head. That's disgusting. Who does that?
It began as a simple noise complaint. It ended with 4 bullets to the head of an officer and a cold silence in the courtroom.
Execute me there because I can't get any kind of justice. I'm tired. I'm at the end of my rope. What can I do?
In Summit County, Elisa Amigo, Fox 8 News.
In the early hours of the 13th of July 2008, in Twinsburg, Ohio, Officer Joshua Mictarian, aged 33, pulled over Ashford Thompson, 24, for blasting loud music from his car around 2 a.m. The stop was routine until it wasn't. As the officer approached the driver's window, Thompson, without warning, drew a .45 caliber handgun and fired 4 rounds, each striking Mictarian in the head. The officer died instantly, his body collapsing beside his cruiser as his patrol dashcam recorded the flashing lights and final seconds of the ambush. Thompson was known in his neighborhood for his short temper and erratic behavior. He had prior charges for domestic violence in 2005 and drug possession in 2006. He was not a career criminal, but he had already crossed paths with the justice system more than once. Friends later told investigators that he was always on edge, a man who believed police were out to get him. As the shots rang out, nearby residents awoke to chaos. Witnesses called 911, describing a car speeding away from the scene. Police traced the vehicle to Thompson's girlfriend's home in Bedford Heights, where they found him hiding. Gun residue tests confirmed he had fired a weapon recently. Inside the car, officers recovered the murder weapon still warm to the touch. Thompson was charged with aggravated murder, tampering with evidence, and carrying a concealed weapon, all under separate counts. Prosecutors pushed for the death penalty, citing the cold, execution-style nature of the killing. In court, the evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution displayed photographs of the blood-spattered patrol car, bullet trajectory maps, and the shoes Thompson wore still stained with Mictarian's blood. When the victim's mother faced him, her voice trembled. "You put the gun to my son's head and pulled the trigger. Then you shot him again and again. The shot that took his life also took mine." Throughout the trial, Thompson sat expressionless, even as the jury foreman read the words that sealed his fate, guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. During sentencing, he muttered in frustration, "Just execute me then. I can't get any kind of justice."
Chris, you're accused of shooting a police officer. Do you have to say anything? Did you intend to shoot an officer?
Tell us what happened Saturday morning.
Why did you do this?
The court granted his wish. The judge pronounced death by lethal injection for the aggravated murder of Officer Joshua Mictarian. With that ruling, the gavel fell firm, final, and deserved. Number 1. On the 3rd of January 2015, in Albuquerque, New Mexico, Officer Lou Goulson of the Albuquerque Police Department pulled over a silver sedan, speeding along a deserted stretch of road. When he ran the license plate, the database flashed red. The vehicle was stolen. Goulson approached cautiously, flashlight in one hand. Before he could utter a word, the driver, Christopher Cook, aged 29, drew a handgun and opened fire, striking Goulson in both the leg and torso.
I mean, because he just didn't steal from me, he stole from me and my son.
Cook wasn't a stranger to police. Records show a 2012 arrest for auto theft and a 2013 conviction for possession of stolen property.
And we'll show you another video. From the time the camera is activated until the audio portion begins is approximately 30 seconds. That's the time delay that's built into the camera system.
He had spent much of his adult life dodging the law, moving between petty theft and high-risk carjackings. Friends later told investigators that Cook never planned to go back to prison. That night, his determination nearly turned deadly. After the first shot, Golson stumbled back, returning fire until his magazine was empty. Cook darted into the shadows, leaving his wounded victim gasping on the roadside. In a desperate 911 call, Golson's voice trembled. "My leg hurts. My arm hurts. He's running northbound, blue hat, blue jeans." Backup raced in, but Cook was gone. DNA on the stolen car's door handle and a discarded glove matched him within hours. Police arrested Cook 2 days later, hiding in a friend's trailer. He was charged with attempted first-degree murder of a peace officer, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, shooting from a motor vehicle, and possession of a stolen car. His bail was set at $1 million, with prosecutors citing extreme danger to the community. In court, Cook sat stone-faced as the wounded officer, now in a wheelchair, faced him. When the door opened, he already had his gun up. Golson testified. "He didn't hesitate, he wanted me dead." Cook showed no emotion. No apology, only a blank stare. The judge sentenced Christopher Cook to 20 years in prison, citing his deliberate intent to kill an officer of the law. Golson survived, but the scars, both physical and psychological, remained.